Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the DogCo Secrets podcast. My name is Michelle Kline. I am your host and the founder of DogCo Launch, where I help pet care companies grow and scale. And today I want to talk about professionalizing your marketing. So let's get into it. So I saw a post in a Facebook group in one of the pet care groups that I'm in, and it generated the idea for this podcast. So I saw someone asking a marketing question for their business. They posted in one of these groups, "Hey, I'm looking for help in XYZ." And someone commented underneath and said, "I'm just so tired. I didn't sign up to be a marketer. I didn't sign up to have to learn how to market. I just want to be a business owner. I don't want to have to be a marketer." And this really took me back mentally to some feelings I was having when the pandemic came. And anyways, let's just get into it because that was the precipice for this episode today. So when I saw this comment in the Facebook group, the first thing I felt was a lot of empathy because I remember having this moment when the pandemic hit of just feeling like all of a sudden, as a business owner, I also had to be a public health expert. I'm sure if you were an owner in the pandemic of your pet care business, you remember this feeling. No one really knew who to look to of like what was okay, what wasn't okay. So there was a lot of this, at least I had a lot of these feelings of like, I don't want to misstep. I don't want to create like a PR nightmare for my business because I don't really know what to do and I'm trying to do my best. And I'm trying to read all these articles about like, should we sanitize? Should we not sanitize? Should we use our own leashes? Should we not? Do we need face masks on in the house, even if the client isn't there? If I do that, what does that mean? If I don't do that, am I endangering people? Like it was just a lot. And I remember having this feeling of it is just not fair that I have to be the one to figure this out. And here's the thing, I don't think that's untrue. Like I still look back at that and I'm like, yeah, girl, that was a wild time. Like glad we made it through. Glad the business, made it and actually did really well. That can be a different podcast. But I remember having this feeling of this isn't fair. It isn't fair that I have to do all this work and figure this out. I didn't ask for this. This isn't even like my business. And here is the loving truth I want to ground us in this podcast. It may not be fair and it is still your problem. And that is going to be true for anything we come up against in our business. While we may not be a public health expert, we may not be a marketing expert, a branding expert, an excellent strategist, a recorder, or like an editor, whatever, like insert specialty skill set. It is still our problem as the owner to get the business what it needs to succeed. Now, that does not mean that you necessarily need to bridge that skill gap, though I do think there's a lot of wisdom that you at least need to know enough to be dangerous and enough to be informed and educated on what exactly you're outsourcing if you do. So bringing that full circle back to marketing, because that's the specific skill set I want to look at today. In order for your business to be competitive in this current market, you have to have a professionalism to your marketing. Now, because I'm the queen of nuance and caveats, that does not mean it needs to be perfect. That doesn't mean it needs to be perfectly branded. But what it does mean is it's a skill set we have to learn if we are going to equip our business to succeed. We have to know how to market. We have to know how to stand out against the competition. If you're a pet care business that wants to level up, then this is for you. The DogCo Business Summit is in Winston-Salem, North Carolina, September 26th to the 28th. We still have tickets available, and we just announced that we are going digital. So you can get your in-person ticket or your digital ticket at dogcosummit.com. We have to figure out the skills to either successfully offboard that to somebody that we are going to utilize to help bridge that skill gap, or to learn the skill ourselves in order to, again, bridge that gap. The business needs what it needs. It may not be fair. It may not be something you enjoy. And also, it is still our job to figure out how to get the business what it needs to succeed. So here are some key pieces that I would give you to help start your journey on professionalizing your marketing. Because I know for a lot of people I work with, this is not a skill they're necessarily excited to learn. some people it is, I definitely have clients where it's like, we're just like marketing back and forth. We love it. But I do work with a lot of clients where it's like, I see that I have to market. I have to do things to remain competitive. I don't enjoy it. So if you're listening to this and you're like, I know I'm sitting at the intersection of a skill deficiency, here are a couple like low-hanging fruit, kind of high ROI things that you could start with to bridge that gap. Okay, so number one, professional photography is going to take you really far with the perception of a professional service to the potential clients you're trying to communicate with. When we're looking at investment to return, photography has always netted really, really positively for me. When I started my business, I spent I used that $500 to invest in building a website. I built it myself, but like to, purchase the domain, get the subscription to the site. I spent money on a couple other little things I needed to, get started, like the stuff that you should spend money on. But then about half of that I put immediately into photography. And that is one reason that my business accelerated at the speed that it did. I know it may sound silly, but that investment in photography, it shows clients I take myself in this business seriously. I've made an investment and it just elevates the aesthetic and the entire presence of your business online and in print material, but online especially is probably where the majority of this photography is going to go. So having professional photography on your website, having professional photography kind of blended into your social media. It doesn't have to be that every picture you post is professionally done. Having these pictures that really elevate, and looking for high return places to put them, like high visibility places. The cover image on your Facebook business account, like maybe building a graphic, but using this professional photography to really elevate the aesthetic of that. Your profile picture, interspersing it into your social media, especially if you're doing something really high value, like a giveaway or a promotion or a big announcement that's really going to help anchor. And it's going to help elevate, which is really important. I won't speak to this too directly, but just to kind of nuance a question that I know people will ask or be curious about, is AI photography okay to put in? I can't speak to that from what do the Google gods believe is okay? But what I can tell you is yes-ish caveat. I personally have a bit of a distaste for AI photography as it stands right now, because it's very apparent of what it is. And I think that when we're in a business that's so grounded on authenticity and relationships and trust, that's a huge anchor in this industry. Having photography that is so clearly real people in real contexts, real situations with real animals, I think is hard to beat, and I think it is worth the investment. Plus, you have the added benefit of feeling really good about yourself for keeping a local artist employed, because I know it is a scary time out there to be in, graphic design, digital marketing, photography as a full-time profession. So I personally land in the camp of investing in real photography will take you further. While also I have a healthy level of acknowledgement that that can be quite an investment, and there's some nuance there as far as just what resources do we have available. But if you can do the professional photography, and even finding some creative ways to do that, like maybe you barter for a session. I did that all the time with my business. I had at least 3 photographers that I bartered with during the window of time with my business so that I could get more photography without being a huge cost to the company. In every business I've owned, I've done professional photography about once a quarter. That is not a hard and fast rule. That is just kind of the cadence I've set to make sure I have enough of an image library to really do all the marketing I would like to do. So photography, that is going to be a high ROI investment. The next one that I recommend you focus on when it comes to elevating your marketing is making sure that you are really consistent about asking for reviews and where those reviews get displayed and that content gets repurposed into any of the marketing that you're doing. What reviews are is borrowed trust from other people. It's this moment where you display somebody else's trust in your company. And so that by proxy, a potential client looks at that and says, I have proximal trust to this company through this other person. And so when we are looking at professionalizing our marketing, standing out, making sure that we're consistent about those reviews and that we're really maximizing the kind of life and return from a review to the company. So for example, if somebody posts on Google, why could we not take that and reformat it and also use it on social media? Maybe we could follow up with them to say, hey, I'd love to do a post about your experience. Could I get a picture of you and your dog to include? Adding that really deep human element to it. So making sure that we're really utilizing those reviews to give the best impression back to the company. But reviews are going to be a way that we can really elevate and that we can help show to potential clients, we're legit. You're not going to be the first one to try this. We're established, and reviews are one of the quickest ways to do that, especially if you find a way to display reviews that have an element of either people or pets, more than just writing. If we're looking at kind of the spectrum of believability in testimonials or reviews, the highest amount of believability is if somebody was in person with you saying, oh my God, you have to work with Michelle. She's amazing. Here are all of the things I've learned from her. And here's all the ways she's influenced me, whatever. That's going to be the most amount of impact, is a face-to-face conversation with someone. Now, real world, we don't have a lot of opportunities for that. And we also can't force it or manufacture it as business owners for our clients. We can encourage it, but we can't force it. So if we're looking at the spectrum of believability, on the end of we are barely believable is going to be a quote with no attribution. That is just, anybody could have written it. How do we know that that's a real quote from somebody? And then there's a spectrum between those two. And the closer we're able to get to that feeling of a conversation of somebody just really giving you their experience, the more impactful and believable it'll be. So, for if we just have a quote, could we put their name? Could we put their first and last name rather than just their first name? Could we add a picture? Could we get a video testimonial? So working closer to that is going to add to that professionalism and believability. Okay, so we have photography, we have reviews, and then two other things I want to talk about: your website and your messaging. So if we're looking at the 4 just cornerstones of professionalizing your marketing, these are the 4 things that I personally really care about and put a lot of time and thought into with my own marketing. So starting with the website, and then we'll move to messaging. So your website does not have to be a huge financial investment. And I do want to anchor this section of this episode with that in mind, because this is an area in your business, it will be very easy to drop a crap ton of money. And I'm not saying that won't ever be worth it, but I am saying there are a lot of tools and resources out there that can give you a very professional look and feel of a website without it being a $10,000 investment. There also are a lot of really great agencies. I have recommendations. There are people that I love to connect clients to who can build a brand, take a website, make it really beautiful, and just deliver it back to you. I do recommend that you know enough to be dangerous. That really is what it comes down to. That, if you do outsource this, you've done enough research and learned enough to be able to say, this is exactly what I want, what I'm looking for, what I'm looking to get out of this relationship. Or that maybe you take the time to build the first iteration of that yourself, so that if or when you outsource it, you're able to give them something to start with. But your website is going to be this really high ROI area for your business, because most of the time that's going to be the conversion point. People are going to hear about you in a variety of contexts. They're going to hear about you from friends, family. My neighbor uses you. My coworker uses you. I saw something on social media, but very often the step they're going to take next is to go to your website to learn more. And that's where they're actually going to make the decision about getting into your funnel or not. So if we're looking at high ROI, professionalism, making sure that your website gives you the best fighting chance to get that connection point is a really high value use of where you're focusing developing these marketing skills and closing the gap on a skill set deficiency. All right. So to recap, we have photography, reviews, website, and then the final area, I call it the area of obsession, but the final area that I would really encourage you to focus on the professionalism, focus on the elevating with your marketing, is learning to be a really strong writer for the messaging and the way that we communicate to our potential clients, especially through our digital marketing. Print marketing as well, flyers, mailers, whatever print marketing, yard signs that you may be trying. I really like digital marketing as the area to focus on this though, because you can get such a quick feedback loop from the way that you are writing and the way that people engage with the content that you put out. I work with a coach who had a comment that I thought was really impactful. And she said, if you learn to write in really compelling ways that gives people a true belief that you understand their pain and can offer a solution, that's really the only marketing you need to learn how to be really excellent at. That will cover the gap. That will cover the deficiency in any other area. If you can show people in your writing, I understand you, I see your pain, and I will help you get where you want to go. So if we're looking at high ROI skill sets, this would be an incredibly important one, is learning to write copy that, and by copy, I mean messaging, those words are kind of interchangeable. Learning to write copy that gives that belief to the potential clients so that when they come across your stuff, they come across what you've put together, that resonates with them deeply and in a way that makes them feel like it builds trust. It helps them see, wow, I see now what it would be like to work with this person. I believe they understand me. This to me is the biggest nervous area I have with the inevitable reliance that is forming on AI. Me too. Like, I'm looking for ways I can use it better and I can optimize and, all the stuff. I'm on the train with you guys. But my biggest concern is that people will lose the skill and the art form of excellent writing, because that is such an important skill in marketing and in your just success with your business. And it's something that I want to make sure you don't shortchange yourself for the opportunity of, because I want to be incredibly direct with you. If your competitor invests in that skill set, this is how powerful I believe it is. That will be their differentiator. If all their competitors are kind of putting the same Chat GPT stuff on social media, it all looks the same, it has the same kind of emoji format or whatever it may be, their differentiator is going to be that connection through their writing of really understanding how to connect with their target clients. So I'm not saying don't use Chat GPT. I'm not saying don't use AI. But I am saying don't lose sight of learning to be an excellent writer, because that is going to move the needle for your business. Like, if we're looking at that disproportionate effect to skill, it's going to be in your ability to connect and help other people really understand. And no one will ever be better at that than you have the potential to be. So on that note, I hope I have given you some good takeaways from today. Cheering you guys on.